And hello and welcome to AleksTabletops Game Study Session 10 Faeria. So we will continue to study tabletop games slowly but surely, one day at a time, 1 day per week, slowly. Again, there's no way to rush. So as I already said multiple times, the primary game that I'm studying on a much more constant basis is Magic the Gathering, and other games are just a way for me to expand this variety of the games and basically not stick to just one game, but actually see what other games will provide. And I believe that Faeria is one of those games that actually has a lot of interesting things in it. So let's just find it and launch it. Where is the Faeria? Hello there. So the last time that I played Faeria was a long time ago. Probably maybe more than a month, maybe. Supposedly there's a lot of changes. It went through a lot of changes, I guess. I'm not necessarily sure. So as you see, I have like 10k of gold, when the last time we probably had about 5 or 6, something like that. This is just for daily login rewards, which is pretty cool. Again, today we'll try to complete... no, we're definitely not going to run Pandora. So, today we will try to play 10 neutral spells and play green cards. Okay, could be a good idea. Play green deck. I actually played one match in quests, like in adventure, maybe even 2 matches, and actually make recordings of them, but then I kind of thought, we're not going to look at those. Although of course we could, but let's not. They're relatively easy quests, they're regular quests, and nothing super special about those, so I guess let's just continue. So we also need to complete a lane and solve 3 puzzles in missions in order to turn. So I doubt that puzzles are going to be present in here. Let's just, by the way, see how many chests we have. Oh, we actually have a lot of those. Ideally, it could be a good idea to open them first and then add new cards into our decks and continue. Let's do that. So 3 new cards. Oh, pretty cool. So taunt, dash. So gain 1 life for each time you've been dealt damage this game. That's kind of cool, but I don't think that we need to add this one in our deck. Okay, only 1 new card. The rest we already have. The founder of the homeland. Okay, 1 new one. And we don't have it, so we're not going to reroll it. And also, the cool thing is that it's neutral. Game +1/+1 if you control 2 lakes, game +1/+1 if you control 2 deserts. So for multicolor decks, which is pretty cool. So, two new cards. So I remember actually this one. Less words, a random friendly creature gains +2/+4. Kinda cool. First time you draw an event, gain +2/+2 in charge 2. Pretty cool too. Last one out of the regulars. 2 new! 3/4-2 and can be summoned adjusted to friendly creatures. Again, this is a neutral. No, this is not a neutral, this is a sand creature. Sorry about that. And special chest. Oh, pretty cool. Give a creature +0/+4 enchant. Okay, this is something that we could actually add to our green deck, which is pretty cool. Okay, gifts. If your opponent has 10 life or less, gain +2/+2. Pretty cool, but we're not going to play for his red decks today. We already have this one. Deal 1 damage to an enemy. What? Seriously? We actually got our first card back, which is freaking awesome. That actually looks pretty cool. Safer card back. Well, let's just customize our card back since we got one, which is definitely going to be a cool thing to do. Wee! Wee! This is awesome. We have a card back. If I chose it or not. Yeah, I guess I am. Yep. So yeah, we also have a special whales, now card back, although it's not necessarily works. We don't have any new orbs. We can have a lot of new avatars, but we decided to choose this one, and yep. Continue! Yeah, first let's just go and add a couple of cards in our deck out of the new ones that we acquired. So we're going to play as a green deck, and we're going to put probably this special card in the deck, because again, I don't believe that I have a lot of taunters in here, and give a creature 2/4. Maybe we could replace it with this one, because 4/4 and taunt is better than 2/4 without taunt. More creatures with taunt we have, the better. No, let's just keep this buff in here. Just replace one of the neutral cards. Okay, so I don't know what to replace. Yeah, let's just replace this guy. And instead add this one. Again, by the way, we already had this card. I bet that there's a lot of much better cards that we could add in our deck, but again, since we're not playing against real players, I don't care about like competitive play. As long as we will be able to go through missions and actually finish them and play them, it's fine. So Green Fury and versus battle. Yeah, didn't play Faeria for a long time, so probably will lag a bit in terms of decision making. So sorry in advance. Yeah, we don't want another one. One is enough. Okay. A new card bag is active. Are things changed or not? Did the cards were presented the same way, or something changed? Or because I didn't play it for so long, I can already forgot things. Could be the case. Create a prayer. Let's do that. Let's place them in here. Oh, not good. The opponent draws a card and gains 2 life. Okay, we definitely need to put a counter in here, but first we need to place this one and this one. Yeah, unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to gather any Faerias right now. Let's just protect ourselves from the attacks of the opponent. It's supposed to be a regular quest, but I don't think that there's going to be an easy one to win. So, prevents this first damage this card would take. So we need to put counter in here, and ideally we need to put this in here. Punishment or safeguard. I keep forgetting what that. So safeguard actually gives us a protection, and punishment deals a certain amount of damage. I think safeguard is better in this particular instance. Let's just put protection on our counter. Oh, we can't because it's a wall. We can put protections only on regular cards, not the walls. Okay, continuing. Not cool. Probably will lose this one. So definitely need to put one of those guys in here. What the? Why we can't do any of things? Please tell me. Is something? The opponent draws a card against 1 protection, deals damage to your opponent. What the heck? Why we can't utilize these things? Please tell me. Why the only thing that we could do is just either draw a card out of this one? What blocks this thing? This is interesting. So you tell me they changed something in Faeria? So if maybe the fact that opponent is closer to us prevent us from playing these things. We kind of froze and now we're not able to do that. Maybe this is one of the things that I actually could add in Faeria. Although I doubt it, but if it's the case, it definitely makes game a little bit harder to play. Because that way, if someone is closer to you, you're basically kind of done. You can't do that much, but let's see. Maybe it was just 1 turn. Yeah, it was 1 turn thing. But still, we're not able to play these for some reason. I don't know why. It's pretty weird. Maybe after we're playing a creature, we're not able to play lands. But still, we should be able to play these. Maybe the fact that go, so we're not able to play them because we got blocked and there's no way for us to go in there. That's why. Not cool. Yeah, definitely we'll lose this one. Eight 12. Yeah, I wish. But again, a couple of turns, I probably will die. This Tundra will save me in one turn, but just one turn. Yeah, I got super rusty not playing Faeria, which is understandable, and I'm kind of ready for that kind of thing. Christian just informs at random. Yeah, we're done either way, so dash if you control creatures for 5 life or more. Costs 2 less, we're not, so... Yep, we're done. Not cool for the first match after a long break, and we kind of lost drastically. Yeah, by the way, the match that I played in Faeria was probably an 18 minutes match, so I could actually play it. Oh, cool thing that we actually played a lot of spells, so we kind of went through quests, which is pretty cool. Yeah, I think what we need to do is... let's just think. Let's just think. Like, I'm thinking, should we need to... Let's try that. So, window capture, no. 1, 2, 3. Display capture. So let's just watch this thing. This was a Faeria match that I went through outside of the streams. It could be a good idea. Maybe we could actually analyze it or something like that. So basically, yeah, there was a second mission. So right now we're kind of dealing with the third mission, and we're still not able to go through it. So let's just watch the match with the second mission, because this match was pretty cool. I don't remember if I actually played it just once, but it's definitely going to be an interesting thing to kind of look at. So this game was recorded separately. This is a separate recording that I did probably I don't know when, but probably a couple of weeks ago, maybe a month ago. Let's just watch it and try to analyze it, because I usually not doing this, and although I remember that this match was pretty cool. So again, as usual, the tactic is to right away implement a quicker route, to create a quicker route to Faeria wells, because this is the most important thing in here. The more Faeria will gather, the better chance for us to play additional spells. Oh yeah, the coolest thing about this match, the reason why I kind of want to show this match, because this match constantly changed the cards. So as we see, every card now is different. So at the beginning, when you play these creatures, they're 1 creatures, and each turn, the cool thing about this quest, creatures are changing, and they're changing randomly, so there's no control over their change. And the cool thing about this match was, it was pretty cool to see new cards that I didn't saw before, which is one good thing about this match. And the second cool thing about this match was probably the fact that, I don't know, yeah, so again, another change. And sometimes changes were helpful, sometimes changes were not helpful. But overall, that was a pretty cool match, because again, it basically has a lot of interesting elements. One thing that I stumbled upon in this match that kind of opened my eyes on certain elements. So, for instance, right now we see a flyer 5/5, and if this flyer will fly in a certain position, so for instance right here, as long as this will stay flyer, it's fine. But if it will transform into another flyer, which I didn't thought at that time that could change something, it will be destroyed. So what we're going to see next time that things will transform, this 5/1 will stop being a flyer, so right now, and ideally it needs to die. So evolve, now it's just a regular 5/6 creature. No, it's still present in there. Or I just couldn't move it. I don't remember. So basically, there's no way to move creature that can't move through the water unless it will transform into a creature that can't move on the water. Or just put a Faeria land. So yeah, right now I kind of figured out, okay, so I can't move. Although I can attack, but I can't move. So this creature now is stuck in that place until it will transform into a either flying creature or water creature that will allow us to move. Which was pretty interesting. I actually kind of was pretty, I don't know. It was pretty wondering for me that this thing is kind of, oh yeah, and it actually died. The reason why it's died, because it just can't be... the reason why it didn't die first time after transformation, I guess, because at the beginning of the turn, the rules are still, like, were applicable. But then after, I guess, our main turn, the phase is changing, and with the changing of the phase, I guess the algorithm of programming tries to put things together and see if this creature will actually allowed on this type of cell, and if it's not allowed, it's just getting destroyed. So we need to be careful when we're working with these type of like spells that could transform creatures into other creatures, to place them on a secure places. Because again, the fact that I didn't thought about that and place this flying creature on the cell that only flying and water creature could survive, not thinking about the fact that it's going to change next turn, and it's more likely that this creature will change from the flying creature to a regular creature, resulted in losing this creature, which of course not a good thing. Because the more creatures we have in here, the more possibilities for us to kind of win this game. So for instance, the same mistake done right here. So 5/1 creature right now, in a position that it could be destroyed because of the placement. So now this is just a regular 3/5 creature. Wolf. And ideally this wolf will die next turn. Yeah, I think I definitely should utilize this thing. I should attack with this flyer and move it closer to the opponent. But again, it's risky because if I'm going to move it there, it could possibly die. I think the smartest thing at that point was to attack with 5/5 creature, put it with the charge 5 closer to the opponent, not doing that, and then produce a fairy, produce a land closer to the opponent, and that way I could basically finish match a little bit faster. So I guess that was a mistake right now to attack this creature that would die either way. I don't know what I thought at this point, but it's definitely was a bad choice of play, because again I had a possibility to charge closer to the opponent, create a whale, or create a fairy, not a fairy, but basically create a land closer to the opponent and then produce creatures closer to the opponent, which would be much better tactically. So the same right here. I need to move closer to the opponent and think about attacking and creating a Faeria closer to the opponent, but I actually don't remember what I did, so let's just see. I probably didn't make a wise decision at that point, because I actually was pretty thrown away by the fact that creatures are constantly changing. There's a lot of creatures, a lot of new spells, new abilities, and for the most part I thought I read all of them. I tried to kind of I don't know. Okay, no, not do that. Oh, come on, man. Either way, right now I actually need to create a no, okay, that was not a smart idea. So again, this is weird. When you are playing, you're making one type of decisions, and when you're looking at yourself playing, you will think about different decisions. So I guess I was focused too much on the defense, although the fact is there's no one to defend from. So there's no attackers, and maybe I just was kind of super confident that I'm going to win this game because I had a lot of creatures, and the fact that they're constantly changing. Again, in this particular instance, the more creatures I have, the fact that they're going to change, no matter what changes they will bring, it will still result in winning. Maybe this is one of the reasons why I decided to attack creatures instead of actually pursuing to the orb and attacking the opponent, is because I didn't know what these creatures will become, and I would rather destroy them before they will become something crucial than to allow them to become something crucial. And that was pretty weird phrasing. Either way, so I guess that was the reason why I didn't approach to the opponent's orb and actually attack opponent in the face. Instead, I focused on destroying all creatures possible instead of it. I guess the idea was that, yeah, not allow opponent to have that many creatures, because each creature that opponent has creates a possibility for this creature to be transformed into something that could completely change the game. And if I'm going to kind of eliminate threats on the earlier stages, it will allow me to eliminating threats on the earlier stages will definitely would allow me at that time to make sure that I'm going to win. Slowly but surely win. But if I'm going to allow the opponent to kind of reproduce a lot of creatures or produce a lot of creatures, That way it makes things harder. I'm creating potential to be outnumbered by not only the number of creatures that opponent controls, but okay, this is the thing that I should do a million years ago. But I could be outnumbered by the special abilities of each cards, because again, we don't know what type of transformations could happen. So the regular card could transform into legendary, and if opponent has this regular card that's or not necessarily presents a pretty big threat yet, but then will be transformed into a legendary that could destroy all of our creatures or do something crazy, it's definitely kind of the reason behind that, why I decided to aim on destroying opponent's creatures instead of hitting opponent in the face. Although again, there was a lot of choices to, okay, that was interesting, out of 8-8 to 0-6. Again, this is one of the reasons why I decided to actually record this one, because this match was pretty awesome. And this is one of the reasons why I'm showing this one on recording, because I actually had fun playing it. It was pretty unique to play in a constantly changing conditions. It's kind of similar to a plane chase in Magic the Gathering, when plane changes completely change the whole tactics of the game. But right here it's a little bit differently because there's no plane changes, but there are changes in type of creatures and each turn, and the fact that they're changing kind of changes the tactics. So, and it's not necessarily a matter of choice, because you can control plane chases either by rolling the dice to transform them or not. But you can't control things in here, so they will transform either way. So it kind of forces you to think ahead and understand that no matter what type of tactic you will implement in your present turn, it will completely change in the next turn. So do whatever you're capable of doing at this particular turn, because the next turn these abilities could be relevant. Not could be, but more likely will be relevant. Irrelevant, not relevant. So do things that are relevant now before they will become irrelevant. So it's kind of a thing. It kind of was a thing about this match, and again, I probably could win this match much faster. I think the cool thing about this about Faeria, I consider this game is pretty deep, because we have the whole field of cells that we will be able to move, and the fact that creatures are constantly changing, it kind of makes things pretty hard to predict. So a lot of elements to control. So first problem, we have too many creatures to control. And it's not easy to understand how to properly control these creatures with their existing abilities first. This is one thing that kind of adds complexity. The second thing that adds complexity is the amount of choices that we have. So each character able to move in multiple positions, each character has its own unique abilities that could be triggered by a certain element and by a certain interaction. The fact that we need to think about defense, we need to think about attack, we need to think about destroying opponent's creatures, we need to think about matchups between creatures, if they're face, what creature will survive, what not, and the fact we need to understand what cards we need to play next and what's going to be beneficial, where we need to place it, and when we add a fact of changing when we're adding the fact that of changing randomly creatures, like when they completely change their appearance, abilities, and whatever, it basically makes games a little bit like that much harder to analyze, and because of that, I guess I had a lot of opportunities to finish this game a little bit earlier, but there was just a lot of things to do, and because of that, I wasn't concentrated enough and I basically don't have enough experience in Faeria to know all possible scenarios. And again, I think even experienced player probably not going to have all possible scenarios. The cool thing about the Faeria, it kind of seems like a game of chess, but without necessarily specific rules, because each card moves differently, and this way kind of adds to the strategy. And you need to be a pretty good chess player, I guess, or at least decent chess player in order to efficiently play Faeria. Not necessarily, of course, but I think it definitely will help, because that way you will understand how things, like you will see moves intuitively further, theoretically. So the one thing about Faeria that I like, and that it has this depth. So it's not the same as the other cardboard games. So yes, it has cards, and these cards are usually have like almost similar abilities to the abilities that other games have. But the difference in here is, okay, we're probably going to win. Yeah, just attack with 3/3 and destroy. Good. So yeah, so this was match that I done previously. So this match was the match that we kind of went through before this match that we're going to go right now. So yeah, this is kind of it. So let's just change into an actual gameplay. So again, what I showed right now, it was a video. Now it's time to go into an actual gameplay. So let's just try again to go through this mission. Again, we're going to play as a green deck. Okay. I guess the only way to learn how to play Faeria is to play it more than just once per month or whatever. Again, unfortunately, I'm not able to do so because, again, I have a lot of different things to do aside of that, and I wish I had time to play Faeria more because I love this game. It's super cool. It actually, I almost not feeling, not almost, I actually don't feel frustrated while playing it, because sometimes when you're playing these games, you're kind of constantly frustrated because you feel like opponent is too strong and you're not able to counter whatever opponent is kind of giving you. But the thing is that usually when it comes down to Faeria, you know that this is your own fault. So usually you could basically blame the fact that opponent is just basically have better cards than you, and with a little bit more straightforward games without the strategical element to them, it kind of makes this thing a little bit easier, because you know that the only way that you're going to win is if you're going to have a better deck than your opponent. But when it comes down to Faeria, it kind of the case, but not fully the case. So we could actually win by having not that good of a cards and just playing with different and interesting strategies. So at least I believe that this is the case. Again, I didn't play Faeria enough to make sure and tell that this is the actual truth, but still it seems like it could be the case. Okay, we need to move this one closer to provide a as always, when it comes down to these type of games, it all kind of comes down to the drawing a good hand. and then utilizing each opportunity that you will get. And sometimes it's just not that easy thing to do. So I probably will lose this one, without a doubt. Again. Because the opponent is pretty quick in this game, so she moves super fast. Straightforward. It doesn't... She's not allow us to produce that much. This is not cool. Can create anything on this side, which is a shame. It's just a matter of time before I will lose. Give a creature +1/+1. Why not? Yep. I'm definitely not going to be able to destroy these guys. Although if I'm going to actually play this card and utilize punishment, maybe. So deals 2 damage to a creature. If it's a neutral creature, deal 5 damage. So this is good. We could actually destroy... Yeah, and we actually could gain 2 Faeria, so let's just destroy this one. Good, so now we're able to play this guy. If this creature is not going to become better, we will probably survive next turn. And maybe we could actually do something cool. Oh, wait a minute. Give another friendly creature charge 3 this turn. I wouldn't think that. Let's just destroy this one. And play this one in here. Again, I could move in here and gather Faeria, but instead let's just do that. And all of these guys already made their turn. And the last thing that I'm going to do, ideally I need more Faerias next turn, so I will gather this one, 2, +3 each turn. I'm going to have 5, so probably a 6th Faeria could be a good idea. But instead, let's just do that. Oh, come on, we lost. So yeah, this was the not cool thing. So yeah, it's not an easy thing to go through. This is the second try and I still can't win. The cool thing is that we still kinda went through a daily quest, which is pretty cool. So we also played almost played 10 cards, so let's just continue till we have about like 10 minutes. I'm not going to make this one more than that it's supposed to be when it comes down to time. Even if I'm not going to be able to go through this quest, it's not that big of a deal. Because again, it's all about learning and understanding the game a little bit better. And with limited time that I have to do that with tabletop game studies, it's enough for me to go through this in this pace at this point. Okay, let's think. So knowing the opponent, we need to provide a pretty good defense at the beginning stages. I guess we could keep this hand. So we will be able to create additional forest. So right now we need to focus on providing defense around this area. This is the only way to kind of make sure that we're going to win. Of course, create a forest, and we need to create forests in this line because we know that opponent aggressively wants to go closer to us, and we need to make sure that opponent's not going to be able to do that. Okay, Shara. Okay, towns and gift creative forest. Oh snap, I actually wanted to create not a forest but two lands in here, but whatever, it's still a good thing because now opponent needs to find a... So goodbye 2-4. We can't do anything about it. Now we will be able to use punishment and destroy this guy, but we don't have enough areas to do that, unfortunately, which is super bummer. So yeah, we have too big of cards. So instead, let's just do that. And we will make sure that way that opponent's not going to be able to place any fairies in here. But again, if opponent will move in here, then she will be able to do that, but hopefully it's not going to be the case next turn. Good. These are regular creatures, nothing super special about them, but again, the reason why they're pretty hard to defend against is because and again, we will continue to create things to not allow opponent to get to this area. Because since opponent has a lot of neutral creatures, that means that they could be placed on an empty prairie, and we don't want that. Okay, this is an interesting choice. Opponent decides to move out of the way. Okay. I don't know, drawing cards, probably not a good idea. Ideally, we need more Faerias, but no. We just continue to establish a dominance in here. And I guess we definitely need to place one of these things in here. Occupy the space. Oh snap, I should attack this for one. Mistake. Forgot. Either way, I'm kind of interested in what opponent will do though. Okay, opponent decides not to attack, which is interesting. If we control a creature with 5 on gate, the same guy. Just put it in here. Or Yeah, let's do that. So dash if you control creature with, yeah. We can move this creature closer to here. Be a good idea. It will probably survive, or at least it will force the opponent to utilize these two creatures to destroy for 5, which is a good idea. Okay, it's time to move in here and destroy this one. And whenever you draw a card, gain +1. Yeah, we kind of don't have that much of a choice because opponent is going to have 4 cards next turn, so it's just going to become bigger. So let's just attack it. Oh snap, this is not good. Oh, this is not good. The problem is, I don't have that much to protect myself against this situation. We definitely need to destroy 5-1 without losing 4-4-3. The best way to do that is to play this guy somewhere in here. And utilize punishment. Let's just play it in here, closer to the as well. Again, punishment will allow us to deal 2 damage to a creature, and of course we need to destroy this one without losing any creatures. Goodbye. Okay, so now. It could be a good idea to use a production thing. But instead, let's just place a thing in here and move in here and actually attack 20. Oh no. Now we need to destroy 2-3 guy first and then move closer to the opponent, because we need to make sure that opponent is not going to have enough creatures at this point. The less creatures opponent have, the better for us. So good, I think good. Of course, it all depends what's going to happen next. The opponent still has an upper hand. Just to damage. Okay, it's not a problem. A creature with protection and deal 1 damage to a creature. Not good. So yeah, we lost a couple of creatures. So ideally, we need to protect our guy with our ancient board. The reason why we need to do that, because this has a protection and we don't have anything to deal damage to it. So ideally we need to put full buff on it, either attack opponent or attack for 1. Now let's just go into opponent and actually force opponent into a moving closer to. I have better chance of destroying opponent if I'm going to attack it than opponent by attacking me. So I will still go into each turn will deal 2 additional damage than opponent. So yep. And also this creature is pretty hard to destroy. And if I'm going to play Faeria and actually put this guy somewhere in here, it will allow me to make sure that this creature will get bigger and bigger each turn. And it will definitely force the opponent with protection to attack 6-7. Hopefully it's not going to be destroyed though. This is the idea. Deal 2 damage to your opponent. Okay. Cool. Okay, opponent decides not to do that much, which is a weird choice. So what we need to do, we definitely need to establish some type of a protection against 4-1, but the fact is that without additional Faeria it's going to be a hard thing to do. So we need at least 6 Faeria in order to establish a proper protection, which we don't have, unfortunately. So the only thing that we could do at this point is to add additional Faeria in here. play this guy in order to protect someone, at least. So this 3/4 of course will die, but protection will be removed, which is good for us. And if I'm going to be lucky, if I will be able to survive in next turn, we'll destroy opponent with one attack, which would be a good idea. So I have protection on one turn. Opponent's not going to be able to reach me with this creature. Okay. Whoa, 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 whoa. While the opponent has 10 life or less, it gets +2. Not good. Okay, creature with taunt. Oh snap, this is good. So we definitely need to place one of those in here. That will allow us to make sure that opponent is not going to reach us. I guess this is it, we won. Yeah, that was pretty cool match. It was weird, not that a lot of creatures were in play. It was all about the proper choices and tactic and survival, and understanding where to choose. Oh no, don't tell me that Faeria is... Connection lost, attempting to reconnect. Okay, this is the first one. Yeah, usually we need to decide where we need to move on into attacking and where we need to protect ourselves. And the cool thing about this match was the only way to win this game was to focus more on attacking and less on defending, because the opponent will constantly going to have upper hand when it comes down to attacking us. And the only way how we could win is to refocus from defense and focus more on attack. We still probably had to have a defense at the beginning, because if I wouldn't place the defense at the beginning, we wouldn't be able to win this match. But right away, if you feel like your defense are solid or is solid, depending on how much creatures you have, in it, so you need to move on into an action, into attack. So yeah, this is one of the things that I like about Faeria. So apparently we get a pretty big connection loss. I don't know why. I don't know what to do when connection is lost. So if I'm going to like quit the game, that it could result in not saving the progress, and I wouldn't want to revisit this match because it was not that easy one to win. So, but apparently we don't have another choice, because it's just going to stuck in this state, I guess. Either way, this is the end of the session. Again, this is closer to an hour already. It's 58 minutes or so. So let's just sum up things and finish Faeria. Again, this is one of the games that I probably will play on a constant basis, and Faeria is definitely going to be always present in tabletop game study. I probably should talk about games that will definitely be staying here for a long time, or at least they will definitely play them on a constant basis. Other tabletop games that we're going to study are going to be not the constant ones, so we're going to probably go through them and then we're not going to play them for a long period of time, or we're just going to study them at certain extent, and after that we will finish with them and not going to play them at all, or going to revisit them from occasionally. But one games that I definitely feel like we need to constantly revisit are Cross Maga, Guild of Engineering, Gwent, Elder Scrolls Legends, Faeria, Warband Bushido, Star Crusade, and probably these are the old games that I definitely will be back to constantly. like these are the actual games that I want to play because they provide a pretty interesting experiences. Again, Crossmaga provides us with interesting board experience, so like the fact that we're playing on a board and we're moving creatures in a certain direction, it's pretty cool. Now, Guild of Engineering is completely unique card game, which kind of creates a pretty unique way of playing, so it's kind of more like a tabletop game, less a cardboard game, which is pretty cool. Gwent, of course, it's super cool game, which provides us with a lot of tactics, with a lot of choices, and with a lot of interesting combinations, which is definitely going to be constantly revisited. Elder Scrolls Legends, it's kind of less unique from out of all these games. The only thing that makes Gwent unique is the runes and the what else and the lanes. So the different type of lanes and runes that after each 5 health there's going to be lost rune will help us to draw additional card. These type of things will actually provide us with a lot of flexibility, which is pretty cool. And since Elder Scrolls Legends is just going to grow, I think it has a lot of potential in it. Faeria, of course, because of its unique board placement and cards and its abilities, definitely will provide us with super unique experiences. Warbands Bushido, again, more tabletop game than a cardboard game that works with kind of statues that we're going to move, and tactics that out there are definitely could get super unique. And of course Star Crusade, it's a little bit more fast-paced games, which is pretty similar to Hearthstone, but the cool thing about Star Crusade that I like is the complete uniqueness of certain abilities for the factions. So it actually has pretty interesting factions, and hopefully this game will actually grow, because right now, as I heard, it's in a pretty weird state. No one is actually supporting this game that much. It's kind of dead, almost, but hopefully it's just like not a permanent thing, and they will basically get back. So apparently connection is 100% lost, so let's just switch to this thing and actually quit the game on Alt F4 because we don't have another choice. So yeah, when it comes down to, again, the other games such as Hex, Eternal, Hearthstone, Smite Tactics, Shardbound, and Shadowverse, all of these games provide us with interesting outputs, and we will definitely visit them on a more occasionally, but not on regular basis. So for instance, Crossmaga, Guild of Engineering, Gwent, Legends, Elder Scrolls Legends, Faeria, Warbands Bushido, and Star Crusade, these are the games that we definitely revisit on a much more constant basis. So maybe even I'm going to bring back the schedule that we started with these games. So like Mondays they're going to be for Crossmaga, Guild of Engineering, and Tuesdays, Wednesdays Gwent, Thursdays Legends, Fridays Faeria, Saturdays Warbands Bushido, and Sundays are going to be Star Crusade. But when it comes down to Hex, again, it's pretty similar to Magic the Gathering overall. Eternal, kind of too. It still has a lot of interesting elements to it, but for the most part, the experiences out there are pretty similar to what we could get out of all of the games that we have in our queue. Hearthstone, again, the same kind of. Almost every game has something similar to Hearthstone. So, and because of the aggressive nature of Hearthstone and its non-rewarding system of getting gold and opening boosters, it just basically makes Hearthstone in a lower echelon of our choices. I don't know. Not in the upper echelon. So when it comes down to Smite Tactics, again, they finished a closed beta stage, or just a beta stage. Now Smite Tactics is actually out there in a version, which I didn't play. Played it in the full version. Definitely would want to try it. So they added a couple of new gods there. They provided things with pretty awesome arts and whatever. So basically now this game is kind of full, but it's still going to grow, and ideally it's pretty one-directional and one-dimensional. So the goal is to just destroy a crystal on the opposite side, and type of movements not that's like unique. Again, the more you play it, the faster you will figure out that although you could get pretty interesting things out of it, but again, it's rather, it has everything that our regular games have, which probably kind of a good thing, I guess, because less games to play. But again, we're still going to revisit it on occasionally, but not that, but in a much more rare basis. So Shardbound, kind of the same, and the same for Shadowverse. All these games are kind of, we're going to revisit them, but on less occasional basis than the regular games. But the cool thing is, if at some point we will think like Star Crusade or Warband Bushido, kind of already we know everything about them, or for Elder Scrolls Legends, or we will finish with Guild of Dungeoneering or whatever, or with Cross Mega, we have a lot of games to actually replace, add as replacements. And the listing that we'll talk about are the new games that we kind of already could add as a new ones, but still we didn't had any tabletop games episodes with them, but they're definitely planned in the future. So the Cool Realms, actually there's the new game that I actually installed a couple of probably a week ago, Star Realms, which is the same company that created it. Cool Realms, and just basically in the different setting. So Cool Realms in this weird kind of, I don't know, legend-like setting, and Star Realms is in a space setting, but the idea of the games are pretty similar. So, and it's pretty unique. So he kind of getting control of the central row. These cards in the center row going into your discard pile, and then they reshuffling from the discard pile each turn into your regular deck, and you will kind of redraw them and you change in tactics. So this game it has pretty unique mechanics, and definitely one of the games that has a lot of potential in it. But again, the lack of card library in there, because there's not that many cards there, just going to make it a little bit less like interesting to revisit it constantly. So because of that, there's not going to be that many episodes with it. Rune Words, it's actually pretty similar to Gwent. The only difference from the Gwent actually deleted, or they decided to kind of discarded the possibility of three different rows, and which of the rows are going to produce different abilities. But Rune Words is sticking to it. So each row represent, like on each row we can place only certain cards, and also not a lot of factions out there, only 3 probably, or 4, something like that. So this game is probably still growing, and because it's similar to Gwent, and it doesn't have that big of a card library, I guess, we're not going to revisit on that many, on that occasional basis. So the next one is Duel of Summoners, the Madinogi TCG, which is kind of a weird fast-paced game, which works with constantly redrawing your cards from discard pile, and basically the tactics in there are pretty interesting, could be too, but for the most part it all comes down to making proper decisions when it comes down to where to draw cards, when to discard them, and when to bring back cards from the discard pile, and etc. So, and where to gain additional resources instead of that, when to play cards and how to protect ourselves, and etc. So the attacks in this game and defenses are automatic. The only thing that you need to do is just to set the defenses and attacks. For Ironbound, it's a little bit different game. It doesn't have cards, instead it has kind of tokens, and and you're playing with these tokens, and you're making your hero bigger. Basically it's just like a direct fighting, so there's no creatures out there. It's just like a direct fighting between heroes when you're trying to make your hero bigger by buffing it and etc. So something like that. And because of that, I don't think that this game has that much of a potential for us to learn from, but still a lot of things we could learn from it as opposed to a different type of game. Spellweaver is kind of similar to Magic. Again, it's kind of a fuse between Magic and something different, I don't know. So still it has some pretty cool things in it, but overall it's just a different setting and a different experience, but kind of the same mechanics usually. Although I remember it has something unique, definitely. Infinity Wars, kind of the same. The only difference in Infinity Wars, it has a different type of lane, so it kind of has a support lane, it has an attack lane and defense lane, and each lane kind of represents its own thing. So if you want to attack, you will put creatures in the attack lane. If you want to defend, you need to put creatures in the defense lane, and the same kind of goes for the opponent, but the opposite. And support lane. So basically, it's just like when it comes down to a mechanics and the way that turn structure is kind of created. It just makes it a little bit unique. But again, mostly similar to each of the games when it comes down to mechanics. Cabals, Magic, and battle cards is pretty awesome. It's kind of similar to, I wouldn't say similar to Faeria, but it's pretty interesting too, because the goal of this game is a little bit different. We kind of work with a tokens too. So basically we're playing cards. These cards are becoming tokens, and then we're moving these tokens in certain positions each turn in order to occupy space and win, either by having more control points or just acquiring the space, the base of the opponent, or so-called base, I don't know. So actually this game, one of the games that I definitely will consider as one of the games that we could replace the regular ones, because I kind of dig it. It's pretty unique, it's pretty interesting. It has enough cards out there, so it has like enough factions and enough decks. Not that a lot of cards though, but still enough to create a pretty versatile experiences. Soulforge, again, pretty straightforward game. I actually played it only once and I already forgot about it. I seriously forgot what it does and what type of unique thing it provides. Completely went out of my mind. Nova Blitz, kind of the same. I already forget about it. Maybe I actually didn't play it. No Soulforge, no Nova Blitz. Maybe because of that I don't remember much about them. But again, these type of games are installed and I tested them, and definitely we will test them into Tabletop Game Study. And the last game is Urban Rivals, which I don't know if actually it needs to be in here because it's a completely different game. Overall, it's a fast-paced game where the whole point is to just basically choose the proper combinations for the cards and fight between cards. It's just basically a fighting between multiple cards in order to win, which is pretty weird, and it has pretty easy mechanic, and not everything could be controlled in there. So most of the things are kind of depend on somewhat luck and your awareness what cards are doing. It's kind of similar to just placing cards like in attack mode and choosing cards to defend, better cards to defend. So it's because of its super straightforwardness, I don't think that we're actually going to choose this game on a constant basis. So again, these are the games that kind of installed right now, and most of these games are free to play. Again, the only two games that are not free to play are Guild of Engineering and Warband's Bushido. The other games are free to play, and it's pretty cool because we have pretty flexible pool of games or queue of games to choose from, and it's not considering the fact that new games are out constantly, and apparently some new games will be added in time. So I guess that's it. Again, sorry if I'm talked about this too long. I just want to cover that and say that tabletop games study section of YouTube specials are definitely going to grow, but growth is going to be super slow, and we will go through all of these games in a certain kind of order, and this order is controlled by the relevance of these games, how relevant are these games, especially for me, in terms of what I could learn from them. So if I see the potential in this game that I could learn from on a constant basis, then of course I'm choosing this game as a game that we're going to revisit on a constant basis. And if I have and if I see less potential in these games, then we're going to revisit them less. And if I don't see the potential in these games at all because I didn't test them that much, and we definitely need to just test them and see what type of potential we could gain from them, then of course we will add some of them. So again, there's just 3 groups of games. First group is the primary group that we're definitely going to revisit on a constant basis. The second group of the games that we're going to revisit on the occasionally, from now and then, and there are games that we're either not going to be revisited at all, or we're going to revisit them on so rare occasions that is crazy. So yeah, that's kind of a thing. So on that note, we will end this session. Thank you for watching, thank you for being here. Have a nice day, all right, and see you in the next session for Tabletop Games Study, which is going to be after Faeria, we will go into Warbands Bushido. So yeah, see you in the 5th episode of Warbands Bushido. No, not the 5th, 4th. Yeah, on the 4th episode of Warbands Bushido. Bye.